This is unequivocally the top 20 best devil fruits in One Piece. All other videos on this topic are utterly meaningless compared to this one, because this time, you're in charge. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and today we are here to talk about my favorite topic in the whole of the world thing, which is fictional fruit. But not just any old fictional fruit, because we are only interested in the cream of the crop, except not, because that implies more of a vegetable-based existence. So instead, we will be looking for the cream of the trees, delicious tree cream, if you will. And during the course of the video, we will also be giving away this here gift-a-mabob to a random subscriber. It's a good one today. I can feel it deep down in my man parts. But at this point, you may be asking yourself, how could you, a strange internet man, possibly rank the best devil fruits in One Piece? And the answer is, I can't, but you can. Because I opened up a poll asking all of you to rank 100 devil fruits, assigning them a rating between 1 and 10, 1 being unusable, 5 being average, and 10 being unbelievably godlike. And to my complete shock, more than 8,000 of you took up this monumental challenge, and I cannot thank you enough because that was a long survey. Because according to your efforts, we can now statistically significantly determine the best devil fruits according to not just the opinion of one dude in one room, but thousands of dudes in thousands of rooms. So I've spent a lot of time analyzing your opinions on fictional fruit, so please do justify my life choices by subscribing to the Grand Line Review for consistent injections of fruit straight into your YouTube bowl. But let's begin this list with a massive surprise, because in 20th place is the Hanahanumi, Nico Robin's handy utility fruit. And I did not expect to see this in the top 20, but across 8,000 plus people, it was given an average rating of 7.5 out of 10, which is amazing. Most fruits did significantly worse, including Luffy's fruit actually. The Gomu Gomu no Mi received a respectable but not great 7.2, meaning that this fan base as a collective appreciates Robin's abilities far more than they do Luffy's. And I can definitely see why, because it's easily one of, if not the most useful devil fruit for day-to-day life. And I am thrilled that people have recognized what I've often thought is a bit of an underrated gem. In 19th place, we have another shock contender, at least to me, which is the Toki no Mi used by Toki, which in English would be the time fruit held by time. I really want to emphasize that a score of 7.7 is absurdly high, so the Grand Fleet are putting a lot of stock into the idea of one-way time travel. But to be fair, that is still pretty damn awesome. Aside from being given the opportunity to explore the vast and unpredictable future, it is a great get-out-of-jail-free card if you ever find yourself in a potentially fatal or just not so great situation. And I've got to be honest, if I was making this list, I don't think that this fruit would rank terribly high. But this is why I do this, because I love these little surprises in fan-based thinkery. Speaking of surprises, just as a friendly warning, fruit number 18 is going to be a spoiler for anime-only watchers, which you can skip by going to this time, but for everyone else, let us proceed. In 18th place, we find the Inuinumi model Okuchi no Makami, which just like Luffy vs. Crocodile that one time is a real mouthful. Yamato's mythical Zoan is a brand new contender to this type of list, having only been revealed to us extraordinarily recently, but also making a pretty wild impression, which is fascinating because I still feel like we know almost nothing about it, and I think that this result might be riding a bit on the popularity of Yamato. And you may or may not notice that this fruit has the exact same average as the Toki no Mi. That sort of situation did come up every now and then, and to decide the ranking order, I went with the fruit that had the higher number of 10-star ratings. Mostly because I don't want any curatorial input into this whatsoever, because this list is all about you guys. That's right, you, the one watching. And the collective, now known as you guys, have decided that the 17th best devil fruit in the series is the Dokudo Konomi, used by now Vice Warden of Impel Down, Mr. Magellan. This fruit is a very consistently popular choice simply due to the raw power of poison, because no matter who your opponent is, you're probably going to be able to either kill or incapacitate them quite easily. It's almost like having a Logia fruit in a way, but instead of becoming intangible and untouchable, the poison factor of this paramecia means that people actively do not want to touch you, which can make any sort of fisticuffs very difficult. Plus, Magellan also quite ingeniously used his poison to invent a method of fast travel for himself, so it's a lot more versatile than you may initially think, especially if your hobby has something to do with sitting on the toilet for up to 10 hours a day. I mean, just imagine the amount of Grand Line Review videos that you could watch in that time. And I know that's what people do, because when they do it, they feel the need to tell me in the comments. Should I be surprised? No. But I am very surprised with 16th place, which is the Mochi Mochinomi. I'm not surprised that this fruit is on the list, but I am flabbergasted that it is this low. This special paramecia used by a very special eel boy potentially has the greatest balance of power and utility of any fruit in the series. For the right user, this fruit will make you practically invincible, but then again I suppose that might be where it's lacking, because there are a ton of other fruits that just morph you into an elemental god right out of the box, including our number 15 contender, which is the infamous Miramironomy used by Ace, as well as his long-awaited direct-to-DVD sequel, Ace 2. But this fruit really is the complete opposite of the Mochi Mochinomi. It is 100% raw power. It's a lot of bang, I made a big fire thing and now you are on fire. Although I should point out that Ace did find some creative uses for it, such as using fire as a fuel to propel his surf boat, and I suppose when you're wielding one of the most powerful natural elements in existence, there's bound to be a lot of potential beyond the art of fire fistage. This is also our first Logia fruit to be featured on this ranking. Unlikely to be the last though, because people, they like Logia. Including our number 14th place, who himself has caressed the supple fruit body of the Miramironomy, and with a stunning average of 8.1, we now move to the Itunomi, a devil fruit that's insanity can be summed up by the viciously unhinged smile of its wielder, Donkey Flamingo Bro. And with this one in particular, I think it can be a bit difficult to distinguish how good the fruit is versus how fantastic the user is. I mean, it's capable of absolutely absurd things like healing your internal organs and creating realistic string-based clones, which automatically makes it a marked improvement over the general premise of Robin's devil fruit, especially since Dofi's string buddies feel no pain and therefore feedback no pain to him. It's just a really solid fruit, and I could see it ranking anywhere between, say, 20th place all the way up to 2nd place. So long as it's near the top of the fruit salad, we are all good. But of course, we cannot consume our morning fruit salad without first offering up our prayers to number 13, who is a big Buddha man. The Hitonomi model Daibutsu took on a remarkable average score of 8.2 and may very well be the closest thing the One Piece world has to transforming someone into a literal deity. Because I know that Buddhism doesn't acknowledge any kind of supreme being, but at the same time, this being is pretty supreme. What I've always been more interested in though is if this fruit provides Sengoku with any enhanced mental benefits, perhaps even a sense of enlightenment epitomized by his physical form. You also have to wonder if he has a giant golden dick. Onwards now to 12th place, currently occupied by the Nikki, one of the most adorable devil fruits because it gives you these kawaii paws, but also one of the most insane devil fruits because it provides its user with the ability to repel literally anything, even intangible feelings like pain or abstract concepts such as this blue square next to a slightly smaller red square, which I'm going to interpret as self-worth, mostly because it shows that you didn't have the commitment to learn how to draw a bowl of fruit. In any case, Kuma can zap that right out of you, as well as other things like fast travel to checks notes anywhere on the planet. Fantastic fruit, and it absolutely deserves its spot. As does number 11, which is the infamous Hobby-Hobby-no-Mi, one that I tend to linger on quite a bit in these sorts of discussions because it really is more like 3 devil fruits crammed into one. I mean, to go through the checklist, we have the ability to turn anyone you touch into an instant toy slave, the power to erase the memories of all those who knew the toy in question, thus making this, I think, the only devil fruit to affect people who were not targeted by the fruit itself. And finally, there's also eternal youth because why not? Upon consuming this fruit, you will become frozen in a permanent state of whatever age you were when you ate it. Although something not often mentioned is that the people you turn into toys also happen to achieve a form of eternal youth, or at least frozen aging, because if and when they are turned back into their biological liquid sacs, they will resume physical aging from the time at which they were transformed. To me, this fruit is easy top 10, perhaps even top 5 material, but I do recognize that its potential has taken a bit of a hit with some recent manga revelations regarding Haki, which means that abilities like the Hobby-Hobby-no-Mi aren't quite as insane as we once thought, but they're still pretty damn good. But now, let's open a present, because for every video this holiday month, we will be giving away a delightful One Piece based gift to a random subscriber. And today's present, in honor of our topic of edibles, I believe is an entire box of One Piece wafers. These are fun little snacks that come with very cool collectible cards. I've been addicted to them for a little while now, and as a result, I have a lot of cards, but it's still not enough. And if you'd like to win this box of amazingness, then you just need to do 2 things. 1, subscribe to the channel or be subscribed to the channel, and 2, leave a comment answering the following question. What is the best tasting devil fruit and why? And that is legit it. The winner will be announced in our community section, so go ahead, do the thing, and win the fun stuff. But now we're going to break into the top 10 with, well, number 10. And according to you guys, that would be the Soros used by a certain Charlotte Lin Lin, also known as Big Mom, Mega Matriarch, or Giga Granny. And I'm a bit surprised to see this so high because the fruit is quite conditional. Generally, to make use of the Soros beyond manipulating your own soul, the target needs to be scared of the user, which is easy in the case of a giant cannibalistic mother beast, but it's much less easy if, say, Steve from accounting had the fruit, because it's Steve, and we all know that Steve is a bit of a bungle nut. But just on this, there's an interesting thought out there. The Big Mom quite purposely turned herself into this aesthetically obese monster to enhance that feeling of fear, because previously she would have been at risk of instilling far less fear and far more erections. So we definitely need to be on the more favorable side of the fear erection efficacy scale. Amazing fruit though, and I can see why you've all plonked it right here. However, managing to defeat it with an average score of 8.9 comes the challenger that is the Zushinomi, handled by the gravitational geriatric Fujitora. I shouldn't call him geriatric, he's not that old, only 54 apparently, so I guess he's more of a semi-atric. But the Grand Fleet seemed to rate gravity manipulation pretty extremely high, and I cannot blame them. If this fruit was anywhere near scientifically accurate, it would be entirely broken, as would the planet. Thankfully though, it does have its narrative restraints. Or maybe Fujitora just can't see the full potential of it. The joke there being that he is blind, because explaining the joke always makes it funnier. But penetrating the 9-point average barrier and thus ending up in 8th position is the Magu Marganomi, or as my Word document keeps trying to correct it as, the Hagnomi, which I believe gives its user all of the abilities of Southern Holland, including the power to house your very own Dutch royal family. Not quite as good as the Magu Marganomi, which is why it's not surprising to see this fruit here on the list in the video that I am doing right now. It has been canonically identified as the single greatest devil fruit in terms of raw power, but where this fruit always falters to me is its lack of day-to-day use. You know, Sakazuki's not changing a tire with this fruit, instead he's probably just burning down the whole car. But it is an undeniably cool fruit, much like our number 7 place, which is the Hinomi, managing to defeat the Magu Marganomi by a mere 0.1 average. But I do think that is quite well deserved. As much as Kuzan may have lost to Sakazuki in the series, I do hold the opinion that his fruit is just plain better because of a lot of the stuff it can do, such as negating the one common weakness of every devil fruit being water. Can't be afraid of water if the water isn't water. So the Hinomi does inch out a victory here. However, it did actually tie with another fruit, which is our 6th place contender, being the Yami no Mi. Blackbeard's Dingy Void, much like Katakuri's Special Paramecia, has been identified as quite the special Logia, mostly because it doesn't do the things that Logias do. It does other things instead, but those other things are pretty awesome, like negating the effects of devil fruits entirely. It was like Haki before Haki was Haki. And then just imagine adding Haki on top of that. Blackbeard is a certified devil fruit debunker, taking your puny fruit-based powers and destroying them with the facts and logic of darkness. I imagine that a lot of this score has to do with the speculation that this is what allows Blackbeard to have multiple fruits. That's not something that's currently confirmed, but if it was, then I think this fruit would easily become number 1, no questions asked. But 6 is not 1, and neither is this number, which would be number 5, the Toritonomi Model Phoenix, the first devil fruit on this list to be utilized by a fellow fruit. And without getting into spoilers, we have recently learned some interesting information about this particular mythical zone in the manga, which does significantly improve its status. So while previously I would have thought that this is in no way a top 5 pick, now it's pretty reasonable. And whatever the case may be, a 9.2 average is nothing to laugh at, unless you're Marine Admiral Kizaru, whose Pika Pikanomi has scored a mighty 9.3. Then you have the right to laugh, and oh my, he will. Much like Fujitora's devil fruit, this is another one that would quite literally break the world if it were in any way scientifically accurate. And even in a fictional sense, it needs to be severely nerfed just to exist in the story. But even with all of those restrictions, it is still beyond amazing. And it is the devil fruit that I would personally choose to consume because I do enjoy playing with light. Observe. Light, activate. See, it's quite fun. It's just so much fun and I enjoy seeing it so high, kind of like Kizaru himself. For the bronze medal though, we do need to issue another spoiler warning for anime-only watchers, and this one isn't as big, but it's kind of big. I guess it would be kind of like a large medium. So you can skip to this time to find out which fruit came second, but for everyone else, Yes, here we go. Our bronze medal finisher of the Devil Fruit Olympics is the Inuinumi Model Seiryu. Now, despite the fact that we have been seeing this fruit in action for literal years now, this is the first time that it has been eligible for this sort of ranking, because one of the many arbitrary rules I have is not ranking unnamed devil fruits, because names are important and they inform so much about the ability itself. And in this case, discovering that Kaido is less of a Rayquaza and more of a Magikarp is incredibly relevant, because it implies that consuming this devil fruit may not instantly give you access to big, scary dragon powers, and you may be quite likely to begin your devil fruit career as a splishy, splashy fishy. Not that anyone cares, because this fruit took home a ludicrous average of 9.3, so the people have spoken. As for the silver medal, I find this quite shocking, and that is a mildly intended pun, because it is the Gorongonomi, also known as the fearsome overlord of the entire Paramecia class. And this fruit is fantastic, but second place is like, that's pretty wow. Its supreme destructivity is great and all, but if anything, it's even less useful in day-to-day life than the Magu Marganomi, and that thing was already quite questionable. So I do wonder how much of this result comes from the perspective of either pure destructiveness or a deep fondness for the mustached mountain that used it in the series. With all of that said, there were exactly 46 people who rated this fruit as a 1, which is unusable, which I only point out because 4 and 6 in Japanese can be read as Shiro, meaning white, which is why Edward Newgate is called Shirohige, white beard. So that was just a fun little thing there that happened. And for more fun things that happened, I suppose that now brings us to number 1, which is a bit awkward because we actually have 2 first place finishes. The Grand Fleet has determined that 2 devil fruits are worthy of a mighty 9.6 average. And because they're so neck and neck, I do feel like they both deserve the glory of first place, with those 2 fruits being the Ope-Ope-Nomi and the Goro-Goro-Nomi, both of which essentially grant godlike powers to their users, and against more average opponents are nigh on invincible, even in very inexperienced hands. And I love this because I've always maintained that NL's Devil Fruit is the most ridiculous we have ever seen in this series, and potentially the most ridiculous that we will ever see. However, the Grand Fleet has made an addendum to that belief, equalizing Law's crazy powers. But we can also do something fun here and see which one of them got more 10-star ratings. And it was incredibly close, but the Goro-Goro-Nomi got 263 more 10-star ratings than the Ope-Ope-Nomi. Still insanely close, and that's why we will be dual crowning these as the fan base determined best devil fruits in One Piece. And now to determine your next video, how about this one? Because there's always more to learn, explore, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.